Lonesome Lands podcast, Lonesome Report. I'm Jim Mundorf, Shad Sullivan. What is today? February
Ninth.
9, 2:04 p.m. Who knows when this will come out? Um,
Tomorrow, bro.
so much news in the world of agriculture, especially on the cattle end. New World screwworm, Argentina. I just paused there because I was thinking I had to do all this math on Argentina, which I didn't get done. Did you get that done, Chad?
No, but I think I have it in my head.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do it on the fly. Never know
Yeah,
what'll happen.
let's do it on the fly.
All right. This episode is brought to you by our wonderful viewers and subscribers, lonesomelands.com. You go there, you get yourself an ear tag. If you subscribe, which I still need to put a picture of these up, but this, you'll get a ear tag. If you click on support, choose an option to subscribe. And all of our subscribers at this time, I'm trying to get that focused. I am holding up for our audio listeners. I'm holding up an ear tag, black, with an engraved, beautiful picture on the front of a horse and a cowboy, and on the back it says Sullivan. And then underneath that, it won't yours
It
won't
would
say
have your
Sullivan. It
name
would
on
have
it.
your
Yeah.
last name and a phone number on it to be used as a luggage tag, dog tag, keychain. Who knows what else? But that's just a little promo thing we're doing. And got all my. I got a little slow on shipping orders out. We also have a merch store. Go there and buy stuff. That helps us out too. I got everything shipped out. I'm very slow, and the mail, which I can now blame, is also incredibly slow.
Oh,
There's
it's
weird
terrible.
things going on with the mail. Everybody
It's
says I about got my insurance canceled because my check never showed up.
Yep.
Which I'm still old fashioned and sending checks in the mail.
I bought a load of cows at the sale barn and had the matriarch of our operation send a check from Colorado for that, and it took 6 weeks. I ended up canceling that check at a month out and just writing a check myself, I guess. I can't remember what I did, but anyway, they did get it 6 weeks later after she mailed it.
Yeah, and for everyone that subscribed, those did go out before Christmas. These were supposed to be
That
the
you haven't got
initial ear
yet.
tag was a Christmas present, and I don't know if any of them showed up for Christmas because people were emailing me like January 20th. Hey, thanks for the thing. But
Wow.
anyway, all right, where should we start? Screwworm or Argentina?
Argentina.
All right, quadrupling the import of Argentinian beef. Trump announced on was that Friday
Yes,
during market hours? Was it?
it
I'm asking.
was. It was. Yes.
Right. And what's the market doing today? I mean, look,
I haven't looked. Let's look at it right
you
now.
look at it right now since you're staring at your phone the whole time we do this anyway. Anyway, went from 20,000 metric tons, is that what it was, to 80,000 metric tons. And we were going to look up what that means. I wonder how many metric tons get imported. How many metric tons of beef are imported? 2 million metric tons of beef annual imports.
Is
And
that not just from Argentina?
no, that's total imports.
Yeah.
But if you think about that, I mean, it's still absolutely nothing. Drop in the bucket, right? 80,000 of 2 million, what percentage is that? Uh, I mean, it'd be,
Looks like the new quota is going to bring the anticipated import amount to 100,000 metric tons for the year
I
of
thought it was 80,000.
2026. They're adding an
Oh,
additional
they're adding.
80,000.
All right. But yeah,
Correct.
compared to United States imports nearly 1.2 to 2 million. Boy, that's a big range. Metric tons of beef annually, which I'm guessing this year is one of the biggest years. How many metric tons of beef are imported from Brazil? Let's compare that with the
Looks
people
like
throwing fit about Argentina.
Argentina would be an additional 6%, a little over 6%
Of the entire,
of the
um,
entire imported.
right, it
Yeah,
would
so
increase imports 6%. Brazil's
correct.
beef imports in 2025 hit a record high, surpassing 3 million tons, metric tons.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so Argentina went from 20,000 metric tons to 100,000 and Brazil 3 million. So, um but what does need to be explained is that this, it's like Trump sees this as, I mean, and that's the other thing. All these cattle people get so worked up. Trump's doing this to crash the market. Trump's doing that to crash the market. But he's not elected president of the cattle industry, right? Like and he sees this beef price as how he's definitely trying to lower the beef prices. But I don't get like I feel like someone just needs to be like, hey, our beef industry, you can import as much as you want, but it all goes through four corporations. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And those four
absolutely.
corporations are paid tens of millions of dollars. Every one of them, well, National, I don't know how much they paid, but JBS, Tyson, Cargill all paid out tens of millions of dollars of price fixing settlements in the last year.
If the
Just
meat
in the last year.
importers, if the meat importers came out today and said, we're going to import 100,000 or quadruple our imports from Argentina, nobody would say a word. Nobody would say a word. None of the cattle industry
Hmm.
groups, none of the cattlemen would say a word. They'd just do it and it'd go on. But because of this double down against the Trump administration,
Well,
uh,
Trump's trying to publicize it too, right?
that's the whole key is
Yeah.
Trump's publicizing it, but the media importers would do it all day long. It's
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's not that it's going to affect it that much. I mean, on either side, Jim, the meat in the store is not going down because as long as people are going to buy it and there's demand for it and they are willing to pay for it, they're going to keep those prices up there, right? And on the other side of it, you have Trump who's trying to lower the prices for the American people. So he sees you and I see a whole picture, but our whole picture is perception of the beef and cattle industry. His whole picture that he sees is the American people. Like the cattle industry for him is just a snippet of the day in the life of, right? Where he has to please the whole people. And so that's the difference in what we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the market doing?
Market is stationary. It looks like live cattle are up a buck to a buck 50, and the feeder cattle are just right where they were last week, where they
So no
closed out
impact.
last
What
week.
are we even talking about?
No impact. Nope. And that's what I said
Um,
on Friday. There was no impact, but I guess there was a little impact because they were up big on Friday at one time. I had not paid attention to it. I was in South Dakota. And then when he come out with it, it did fall $4, but they were still up three, right?
yeah.
So
There does seem to be a kind of a feeling of people are ready to get mad. You know what I mean? Because we are at highest of high cattle prices. Everyone's ready for it to crash and everyone's already like anticipating things to get mad at, right?
sure, everybody wants to get mad at something right now. And whatever they're going to get mad at, they're going to hold Trump accountable and this administration accountable. And I'll tell you what, if this administration isn't paying attention to them like they're used to, they're really, really doubling down against them.
Yeah, yeah. And that goes, we're going to get into that, like the whole agriculture industry
Hmm.
is an anti-Trump, and especially the direction they've been going for the last few years,
Hmm.
and who owns them and who controls them and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
We're gonna kind of get into. Um, but the screwworm, I guess, is the big news from last week. They found it in a horse in Florida, and
Right.
Sid Miller is on a screwworm national campaign to freak everybody out. Um, and I don't know what to think anymore. I guess you're the Texan, you're the screwworm
You know
expert.
what? Sid Miller is on a campaign to keep his job. His social media is extremely active about all sorts of things from the screwworm to Packer concentration now. He's never even touched on these issues before. You know, he's got this big idea of how to retain heifers. It's not a bad idea, but I mean, he's got all these things that he's talking about that he should have been talking about for the last 4 years. And so he's late to the game. Now, the screwworm, there is such a division in these agencies on the screwworm. I want them to get together. I'm like USDA, APHIS needs to come together with Texas Animal Health Commission, needs to come together with Texas Department of Ag, needs to come together with New Mexico and Arizona, and they need to make a dadgum plan because it's going to start warming up. I mean, the cold weather last week kind of helped us slow things down, I'm sure, but that is going to, I mean, it's going to warm up, and we're going to have this issue. They need to get, there's an opportunity for mobile units to get pushed out there. They need to get this Edinburgh deal online and protect the sovereignty of the United States. We can no longer allow our government officials to trust Mexico. Mexico uh, does not care about us, and they are going to drop the ball every time. And I think that we need to just do our own thing. And I'm all for spending all the money we can. We passed, I think it was New Mexico, passed a bill to push all this money into that last year, and I have not heard one thing about that. I'm all for it. Spend the money. I don't care what those uh, mobile units cost, get them out there and get them producing. Make sure these people that we've hired to go to Mexico and help the Mexican government are actually there and doing their job, including the tick riders along the border. We need to all come together, and I don't say you don't have to like each other, but the health of the American herd is at stake, and thus the health of the state of Texas economy is at stake, and thus the American economy, because when Texas falls, the American economy will fall too. And we just can't have that. So I'm hoping they can all get their shit together. Can I say that on this show? I'm sorry.
Say
Get their
whatever you
stuff
want.
get their stuff together and work together. Dadgummit, these power structures and their struggles within are just nonsense. This is for the American people. This isn't for the bureaucracies to say, "Hey, I won. We have the power and control, and you're gonna abide by us." Gosh damn it! Get in a meeting room, come together, have a round table, and say, "This is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to cost the American people." Right now, the American people are like, "Let's do it. Let's spend the money and get it done. I don't care how many millions of dollars it takes. We've already been given them millions and millions and millions of dollars over the last 40 years for this reason right now. Give it to them."
Yeah.
That's how I feel
That's
about
just another thing. Everybody wants to get mad about something, and it's kind of like they're not doing this right, they're not doing that right. No one in pretty much very few people, I guess, that are alive today that saw an actual screwworm in the US. So like as far as coming up with a plan and how they should be doing this and how they should be doing that, there really isn't that many people around that have dealt with the screwworm ever or
there's a few of the older guys in Texas, and I will tell
right.
you that it is not to be downplayed. It is, if we're talking about beef quality assurance and all this stuff, how we handle the humane treatment, I will assure you, I will attest to you that if we get a screwworm infestation in the United States, you're going to see something that you've never seen before. That's not to be a fearmonger. That's just the truth. And if you aren't on top of it, it's just a very grotesque issue that we have to face. I mean, it is ugly, and there's nothing pretty about it. And that's why we need to get on top of it, right?
Yeah. So what do you make of this whole talk of the Mexican cartel? And that's who's really, I guess, suffering. I mean, there are Mexican ranchers down there who've sold cattle over the border,
Hmm.
small family ranches,
Hmm.
just like up here, and now they're completely controlled by the beef packing industry in Mexico. And what people are saying is that the beef packing industry in Mexico is ran by the cartel.
Everything in Mexico is run by the cartel, and everything on this side of the border, a lot is run by the cartel. I mean, the cartel is very powerful and influential, and that's why I said, at that USMCA panel that Mexico needs to regain their sovereignty. And I will tell you that there are really good, wholesome, patriotic Mexican ranchers on that side that of the border that are being abused, and they want to enter into our marketing system, and I'm sure that's very true. But we have this problem, and that is it. And maybe we've gone so long with the border closed that they're saying, well, we're just going to build our own feed yards and packing facilities. And I'm like, yeah, do it. Get to work. Go do it. You know? So I don't know. There's just a lot of talk about that some you take with a grain of salt and some you don't. I mean, the West Texas cattle feeders are wanting those cattle, but now that you think about it, there has been a lot of slowdown on that talk. So we'll see what happens in the future. I have no idea when or if they're going to open the border in 2026. Some people say yes, some people say no. I don't know. Those are questions that we need to ask the Secretary of Agriculture and maybe the White House too, So,
What does Sid Miller have to gain by getting everybody wound up about the screw worm? I don't understand what he's doing or why he's doing it. Just to get like his I guess it gets his face out, He gets out there in the media. Is that
well, and
what he's
that's
doing? Like I just don't.
yes, he's absolutely on a campaign journey, right? I mean, he has somebody who is extremely, I should say, viable for the position.
For the
They've
record,
got
Sid Miller's Texas Ag Commissioner. Is that what they
correct.
call him?
He's the
Right.
Texas Ag Commissioner, and he has a guy running against him, Nate Sheets. And he is a very viable candidate. He's a conservative, and he learns well. He's very smart, and he has got a lot of people throwing their names in behind him and supporting him. Where Sid Miller is losing his support, especially on the political level, on the good old boys club level. I mean, there's a lot of Sid Miller supporters out there that have moved over to supporting Nate Sheets for the Texas Ag Commissioner, and some of the people that have gotten behind Nate Sheets is the Texas cattle feeders, a lot of these ag organizations. Governor Abbott has gotten behind him. A lot of the state legislators are behind him. So I think Sid Miller feels like he's got a lot of pressure on him, and so he is on this very fast and furious and very hard campaign, and I'm glad he is. He needs to go out and earn it. I mean, it's hard to beat an incumbent, but at the same time, they need to not just sit back and say, "Hey, I got this." We need to know what he's going to do for the people, the citizens of Texas. And Nate Sheets has done an outstanding job of getting out there and saying, "This is what I'm going to do." He doesn't spend a lot. He doesn't spend a lot of time denouncing Sid Miller. I don't think Sid Miller has denounced him either. They're doing their own things, but Sid Miller is late to the game on a lot of these issues, and shame on him. These are issues that should have been dealt with him by him a long time ago. I first time I've ever heard of talk of concentration in the beef sector from him was last week, and so but I'm glad. I'm certainly glad. I don't know. I haven't really heard a lot of I guess, the rhetoric on his fear mongering in the screwworm deal. I don't know. I do know that he's probably got people from both. He has great relationship with Mexico and their government. Maybe he's got people from both sides of the border saying, "Hey, we need to get this border open." And certainly he has a lot of influence on that. I mean, for me, from the outside view, Jim, is the buck stops with him and ultimately Secretary Rollins on the New World Screwworm deal. Now, it's a fairly new issue for her because she's the Secretary of Agriculture, which she has to watch over the whole country. Where Sid Miller, this is his state, and I feel like the buck needed to stop with him. So that's where I'm at.
All right, moving on. The other big news, I guess, in agriculture is would FFA be the next thing we talk about, or
We sure can.
yeah. So FFA, the there's an FFA caucus. Jason Smith, I should have looked up where these people are from. Jason Smith, Tracy Mann, he's from Kansas. David Schweigert all sent a letter to FFA, and it got into the news to the FFA Scott Stump, Chief Executive Officer. And they are very concerned because FFA, as a nonprofit who gets tax credits and tax incentives, is partnered with Syngenta. And Syngenta is a ag company that apparently is owned pretty much all by China.
Yep.
In the So they are very concerned about this relationship because China steals information and all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
Biosecurity, right? They are
Hmm.
always sending seeds over. Remember
Yep.
we what was that seed? They
Yep,
sent
and
some.
a bug, and we'd had 4 cases of Chinese citizens being arrested in the United States this year or in the past year for trying to smuggle in diseases and environments. So it's a real issue, and you know that me and you did the report on the Nature Conservancy and their partner with
Well, I was
China.
going to get to that because
So
this letter needs to be sent out to them too. You know what I mean? I mean,
okay, I
they
haven't seen.
FFA doesn't have an office in China. You know what I mean?
Right?
They're not
Yeah,
operating out of China where Nature
sure.
Conservancy actually is. But anyway, but the relation from this letter, just kind of to tell you the relationship between Syngenta and,
Mhm.
or actually, yeah, between Syngenta and China. It says National FFA's relationship with Syngenta is concerning to both the committee and FFA caucus, as Syngenta has been wholly owned subsidiary of the China National Chemical Corporation, ChemChina, a chemical company under the umbrella of Sinochem Holdings Corporation. Since ChemChina acquired the company in 2017, and then says a Chinese state-owned multinational conglomerate that was a result of 2021 merger between Sinochem and the China National Chemical Corp. Both ChemChina and Sinochem Holdings focus on the chemical industry. But then it goes on to talk about they're owned by military China. Pretty much they're owned by the government, Chinese government. That was kind of the whole gist of everything that they put in there. But then also a major concern coming out of the letter says since the partnership with Syngenta, they're talking about the FFA Syngenta partnership,
Right.
began in 2022, the National FFA has rebranded its DEI program,
Yes.
meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion, part of the ESG program that we are constantly preaching against, that's been pushed through corporate America. Um, that was a little side note to go back. Belonging, and they have rebranded its DEI program to Belonging and Engagement. Accepted a 2025 convention delegate proposal regarding diversity compliance and rewards. Required your national officers to support DEI and invited guest speakers suggesting FFA hide DEI activities under a new name to avoid anti-DEI focus. The committee and the FFA caucus are concerned that Syngenta is driving the national FFA's focus away from agriculture education to enhance the future of American farms and farmers,
Hmm.
towards focusing on identity politics that have been proven to drive a wedge in our communities.
Correct. Excellently said.
All right.
That's exactly what they've done. All of this started right around COVID when the world went crazy. And I suppose FFA was like every other organization that had adopted a few sustainable development policy, which was very bad. And then back in about 2020 or 21, the FFA
Well,
actually, go ahead.
let me read to you.
Okay.
Um, so this is on the FFA website.
Okay.
A national FFA and Syngenta partner for inaugural executive in residence, which means they're putting a Syngenta executive in residence at the FFA.
Are you kidding me?
Then this is February 14th. Ooh, Valentine's Day 2022.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
exactly
Okay.
what is that? 4 years ago now.
Okay.
The National FFA organization is partnering with Syngenta to lay the foundation for a national equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy. Boy, they changed it up there. They didn't go DEI, they went EDI, trying to throw us off. Back to it. This strategy will impact members, staff, leadership, and directly influence the organization's programs, services, and events. Recognizing the importance of an equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy, the National FFA partnered with Syngenta, a leading agriculture company with 40 plus years relationship with FFA, to develop the inaugural Executive in Residence program. Syngenta's North American Diversity and Inclusion lead, Brandon Bell, will serve as the executive in residence for organizational development and culture as part of this partnership. So there you go.
How deep do you want to get into this? Because it gets pretty deep. This DEI policy really swept across America's FFA landscape very quickly. And there was a regional or a regional president of the FFA, a guy by the name of Lyle Logeman, out of New Mexico, who was duly elected to his uh, place, or I guess in the National FFA organization. And when all of this DEI stuff come flooding across America, somebody had taken note of one of his social media posts from a long, long time ago when he was a little bitty kid, and they took exception to it at the national organization level. Another one of his peers found it. It was just something dumb that a little kid would write. No big deal. It wasn't the end of the world. And then they had an organization, state organization. Actually, it was a city organization out of Chicago. They took offense to it. Their president decided they would go on a what I would call a witch hunt for Lyle, and went all over his social media. Found where he agreed with conservative policy that this DEI stuff was for the birds, and it is for the birds. Just so you know where I stand. And this president of this local association out of Chicago, stirred that pot up, and they ended up relieving Lyle Logeman of his duty as a regional vice president or president. I can't remember how they do that. And then he lost his scholarship, and it was an absolute mess. And I support Lyle. He's a very, very well spoken young man, just a good ranch kid, right? And his parents, I think they did sue in the U.S. court in New Mexico. And at last I looked, that lawsuit was still alive. But I will say, to go along with that, there was this huge push in DEI across the National FFA Association, which blew my mind. You have to remember, my heart is with FFA. That's really how I, became who I am. But I walked into my local FFA classroom in my little local town and saw, the flags. It was, I don't know what you call those flags, the rainbow flag and the transgender flag, whatever.
You walked.
And
Wait,
I,
wait, 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 wait.
I was furious that they were
You went
having
where and saw this?
in my little local town.
In the high school?
Yes, during this time.
And you went into the ag
I actually
classroom?
saw it in a picture, and I said to my buddy who was on that board, "What in the hell are you guys doing?" And that didn't last long. I
The
mean, that didn't
flags
last
or
long, and the flags didn't last
yeah.
long. Neither did the teacher
Do you remember what
that put
year?
that up.
Yeah, that's all
It
from
was
the
around
teacher.
22, 21, 22. I was furious, and that stuff needs to stop. And it needs to stop in all classrooms. It's not just ag. These kids are supposed to be learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, and history, and
Well, and it's
geography.
not the other thing is they make it sound so nice, right? Like diversity, equity, inclusion. We want everyone to be included. Well, I was in FFA. We didn't FFA has never excluded
We
anybody.
didn't exclude
I guess
anybody.
never is a long time, but in our lifetimes, we weren't exclusionary.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely,
what diversity, equity, inclusion, if you dig into it, it goes into critical race theory, which is
absolutely.
instead of like actually including everyone or treating everyone the same, you treat minorities different, and it actually kind of teaches minorities to constantly think about how they've been oppressed and how oppressed they've been,
Correct.
and like it ties their identity to their race, right? That's what critical race theory really does.
Well,
And it does for everyone else too, as far as like the whole you've heard over the past few years, white guilt and how we're all
sure,
inherently racist and
sure.
the white people are the bad ones and all the minorities are oppressed and we should do all this kind of stuff. And so,
DEI delineates a merit-based system. It uplifts those who haven't earned it. It doesn't matter what sex you are, what color you are. It promotes that you've earned it because you are oppressed in some way. It delineates a merit-based performance system. That's what DEI does. And where does that come from? That's one of the three pillars of ESG, of sustainable development. That's
yeah.
all the darkness where all of this comes from.
Right. Yeah. The three pillars that are listed on every, I mean, if you go through, and that's what I was talking about, like Syngenta's this big corporate ag company, but if you go through John Deere, I mean, I went through all this before where you go through all these corporations and they all have their ESG reports, they all have their but which now they're kind of getting rid of. I've heard like the diversity, equity, inclusion officers, these people, their full-time job was to focus on that in the corporations. And a lot of corporations are getting rid of that, and the colleges, I believe, are getting rid of it also. But to just hammer home the fact that this is, in 2022, the CEO Scott Stump quote, this is on the FFA website. This partnership is part of a broader organizational transformation. And that's what it says. We want to ensure our current and future members feel welcome. FFA is indeed a place for all to feel valued and contribute to our mission. And so
Why
where's
don't
the
they just do the work and
transformation? I'd
contribute?
like to, like, if you're transforming, like before was FFA just this horribly racist Ku Klux Klan run organization? Or, like what are we transforming into and what are we transforming away from? Like that's what the CEO needs to, and Scott Stump, who needs to, um,
He's
needs to
no longer there,
explain,
though,
like,
right?
what's that?
He's no longer there, right?
No,
They've
he's
gotten
the
it.
new one, I believe.
He's the new one. So
Well,
he
this is
needs,
2022, so maybe we should
yeah, I
check.
think the other, yeah. So he needs to actively denounce all that stuff and move back into agriculture education. I mean, they even took the meaning of FFA away. When we were kids, it was Future Farmers of America, and then that all left.
Right.
They don't even, I don't even, I think when I was in high school, they tried to push it where it was founding the future of America or something like
Yeah.
that.
Which now
But
it's more they really focus more on like it's a leadership organization, but I mean you still do have to be in ag classes. It is agriculture focused. They still keep all that in there. But
how can they
Scott Stump
focus
is
on
the
ag
current
production when they're
CEO.
focusing? I mean, I don't understand how they focus on ag production when they're focusing on all this other nonsense that has nothing to do with DEI, has nothing to do with ag production. I mean, we're teaching these kids how to feed the world, not teaching them who they should be, how we're supposed to be including them. We include all of them. I don't want my kid to learn an ideology in school. I want my kid to learn the basics of how to make it in the real world. And they focused on this for so long. It just aggravates the living heck out of me that we have this in seeping into our agricultural society. And the
Right.
thing, I'm not against I'm not against these people. I'm for them, but it is not healthy to be focusing on that when we should be teaching our kids how to feed the world. There's no correlation between DEI and FFA. There is nothing. Is nothing sacred anymore? Are these things that the parents should be teaching? Uh, some things should be sacred, and that stuff belongs with the parents, not with the schools.
Right
So
on. But this is what we've talked about. If you've listened, this is a microcosm of the agriculture industry, the corporate controlled agriculture industry. And
absolutely.
this, where this all originates, going back to the letter, is from people or countries that want to see America fail, right? They are
Destroy. It's all
America
of, yes,
last organizations. World
absolutely.
Economic Forum is where the ESG, United
That's right.
Nations,
Number
China,
17.
they're all the same people that want
That's
to
right.
see America last. Like it's an
For
America
sure.
last policy. And that is what has been pushed into the corporations that control American agriculture.
That's right. It's the destruction of the American people from within, and it's called incremental infiltration. And they've been damn good at it, and we've been terrible at it because we haven't been teaching our kids the foundation of what America was built on. And I'm so sick of talking about this. I just get so aggravated at all of this nonsense. It's absolute ridiculousness. And listen, it comes from a dark place. That's the problem because it all comes from sustainable development. It's all, interwoven into the climate crisis, sustainable development, the three pillars of sustainability, ESG. It all has the same foundation. And until you understand that darkness and where it comes from, which everybody should be understanding because we push that out as much as we can, we're in trouble. I mean, these kids need to go to school and learn, not learn ideologies, but learn education.
Right on. So, speaking of corporate controlled agriculture industry, cattle con, which we talked about last week, it wrapped up, I guess. RFK went. Is there a way to see that speech, what he said there?
I've just seen
I've
snippets
just
of
seen
it.
the news thing. And that's the other thing about, we have all kinds of gripes with that. But you talk about what you just said. I mean, it goes into everything. But in 2021, coming out of CattleCon, their top policy was climate neutrality by the year 2040, I believe.
40. Yeah.
And they were declared it for the entire cattle industry, which means you and me, Shad. So everybody involved needed to work towards climate neutrality by 2040. And I have
Mhm.
yet to hear an update on that. I want to hear, how do we have this goal? And now we're 5 years in, and we have no update on how close we are to climate neutrality. I would love, and people have said, I would love to have Ethan Lane on, Colin Woodall. Email Jim at Lonesome Lands. Come on here. We'd love to interview you and talk about, I thought about what if I could talk to those guys, what would be my first question? What is our progress towards climate neutrality? What would your first question be, Shad?
My first question to them would be, do you know what a freedom maker is?
Anyway, but we talked a little bit about their influencers, that they have there and that they kind of hand the talking points to. It seems like the talking points for coming home was, if you look at these influencers, was like support the checkoff, right? They make sure that people know what great things the checkoff's
Mhm.
doing. Which I have called the biggest scam in agriculture and the fraudulently run. We went deep into how they are pushing that cattle are bad for the environment and how much how destructive their methane is. That's a school course that the checkoff has pushed out.
Which is no longer on the website.
Well, you can't. Yeah, you have to request to view it. I've seen, but I have it sitting right here, so it'll be seen. It's just gonna take some work. Anyway, but yeah, their influencers all came home, like what we said. And one thing I talked about is when these people go to this convention, gives them a superiority complex, kind of. They come home and kind of feel like they're better than everybody else a little bit, or just kind of have that attitude. Buzzard's Beat by Brandy Buzzard was one that got a lot of attention, I guess, where she
Oh,
said,
okay.
"If you're not at the table, quit complaining." And
Oh,
she
okay.
goes on to talk about all of the stuff she did there at the cattle con. And so I got to thinking about, if you got to get to the table, which apparently is at cattle con. And so I got to looking up. A lot of people got to looking up how much this thing costs to go to. And we've talked about this before, but haven't had the prices in front of us. Cattle con full registration for an NCBA member, which if you want to have your voice heard, I'm guessing you have to be a
You
full
have to sit
member.
at the table.
Right. If you want to have your voice heard and sit at the table, $1,275 to go to the convention. If you're a non-member, it's 1,575.
Wow.
And
And
so,
they
but
had
you
the
can get,
largest
what's that?
and they had the largest attendance in history is what I
I
keep seeing.
texted someone who was there, who goes every year as part of the trade show. So
Hmm.
meaning they go, it's part of their job. They're in the cattle industry and they go to the trade show. And I said, was that real? And he goes, every year I've been there has been a new record. meaning, meaning.
That's good, I guess.
And so then I looked up because I asked him a couple years back who actually attends. And I looked up his text back to me and he said, your average cow calf guy is not generally there if they are representing their state associations in
Yeah.
some kind of elected capacity, meaning they unless they are.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when they go. He says it's mostly corporate feed yards, breed associations, drug
Mm.
feed equipment companies, and big ranches. Unless one, the convention is local to them, or two, it's a vacation for the wife and family. Um, and so that's kind of their record attendance, I guess. Who knows who and who knows what people actually end up paying, like their influencers and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, well, to be a member, you'd have to have your seat at the table. So how much does it cost to be a member? And so I have this. I'm gonna try and cover up the address of who it got sent to. The NCBA membership invoice. Um, and
Well, it
so
depends on how many cattle you have, right?
yeah, for a cow calf producer, if you have the lowest number is 1 to 100 and you're 180 bucks. So you make your
Okay.
you can pay 180 bucks and then pay $1,275 and you can get to the cattle convention and sit at the table.
Okay.
But then I got to looking at this and it was pretty interesting because if you have over 2,000 head, you get charged 0.456 times the number of head you have. And if you're a stocker, so if you're a stocker feeder, a stocker or a feeder, like a yearling man, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're some
Right.
yearling guy down in Texas, your
Right.
your membership is $180 plus 0.456
So,
times the head.
right.
So I did the math
Okay.
of, these massive feed yards. If you have 100,000 head, which is, a number of feed yards have, that would be $45,600.
Yeah, but that ain't happening.
Well, have you heard of fair share dues? Like, do you,
Isn't that what we're talking about right now? Fair share dues?
well, they charge, like, if you're a feed yard that has 100,000 head on feed,
Okay.
more than likely they aren't all yours, right?
Right.
You're feeding for customers and they
Sure.
charge their customers what they call fair share dues.
Mm-hmm.
This came up a while back and I think it's big in the Kansas feed yards because
It's big in yep, it's big in the Texas feed yards too.
Steve Stratford was the one talking about it. And I believe they charge dues for KLA and NCBA for every head. And so I'm guessing that's what this is. Do you not? Do you think? You know what I mean? They call it fair share dues.
Could, yeah, probably likely so. I know, if you become a member of a certain organization and you're feeding cattle, they charge, that
Well, even
comes
if
on
you're
your
not a
invoice.
member of an organization, a lot of
Yeah,
people have
they
been like, "Why am
no,
I
right.
getting NCBA stuff in the mail?"
Well, but see, the feed yard is a member of that organization,
Right.
right?
And
And so
so are they paying like? And
that's where
this
that's
isn't.
passed through.
Yeah, I'm not sure that of 100,000 head feed yard, but and I looked up. Well, Five Rivers said they have 900,000 some on feed at times. That would be $410,400.
Hmm.
I mean, how's that work? But if you're like some yearling guy in Texas that runs 2,000 head on wheat pasture, it would cost you $1,092 to be a member
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. To me, if I owned 100,000 head feed yard, I would have a hard time sending that much money to the cattle con,
Yeah,
but
I know.
maybe they are loyal. I don't know. Who's to know?
Right. I don't know either. But and then you got to think of, well, I wonder whose voice gets heard down there. You know what I mean? Is it the guy who has, if you have 100 to 250 head, you get 360 bucks. Or, if you're a feed yard that has fair share dues and you're sending a check for 45,600,
It's
seems
a
like
great point.
you probably have a little better seat at the table, right?
I hope it's at the front end of the table. I hope it's
Which
on the end.
okay, maybe that should be our second question. How's this work? Are feed yards actually sending you $45,000?
It would blow my mind if there was any feed yard that sent that to
Yeah,
that
I know.
convention.
But I mean, I don't know. How do you know? That's what I'm just reading off their membership invoice.
Well, let me ask you this. So how does, you know, I guess she said you have to have a seat at the table. Come sit at the table with this. Well, what if you're, one of the other 700,000 cattle producers across the nation that would like to have a voice in the policy. Are you saying we have to buy our voice into policy?
Well,
I mean,
that's the other thing I was looking at. I looked at, who is the big sponsor of CattleCon this year. What keeps coming up is this. I don't know how to say it. Crest tag, CERES. This is a EID that
Ceres.
series. Okay. Um, it's an EID tag that has like a computer screen on it, and you
Uh-huh.
can see it from satellite. So it's read by satellites. And so
Okay.
I'm like, who is this outfit? And I look up, they're Australian owned. So
Are you
what
kidding me?
better, what better
Are you kidding me?
America Last organization could you get? Australian owned corporation that could read all of your information, all of America's cattle information that they keep on these things from satellites.
Wow.
And one of the reasons they want you to do it is so that they will enable you to monitor key sustainability metrics for ESG compliance
Oh
and
no.
reporting.
You're kidding me.
Going right back to what we've talked about
Surprise,
um,
surprise.
from the whole deal. And that's what, diversity, equity, inclusion, the climate stuff, all of it comes down to control, right? They want to
Absolutely.
control what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And so, but then I got to look at the
Wow.
other sponsors, right? And there's a ton of sponsors, but like the big ones that are sponsoring events,
Uh-huh.
um, JBS sponsored the
Correct.
Washington D.C. issues, which is crazy to me. Like you're gonna pick which one you want to. You're the most corrupt corporation in the world, right? Your owners have been fined $3 billion, went to prison. They bribed 1,800 Brazilian politicians, bribed health inspectors, shipped out tainted meat. I mean, it never ends with JBS. Now they have this strike going too, um, which I'm sure they're probably all for. But so they were a big sponsor, and that's who owns JBS. But then you look at the other big sponsors, Zoetis, and so you look at, well, I wonder who owns them, and all of this ESG
BlackRock
from
and Vanguard, I can tell you
yeah,
already.
and this is Robert Kennedy's talked about it. Who they had on stage there, but I learned all about this from Vivek Ramaswamy's book, Woke Incorporated. These are the corporations pushing the ESG stuff. There's three that they always come up: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, top
Yep.
investors in Zoetis, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street.
Yep.
Right. The other big sponsor, John Deere. The top investors in John Deere, Cascade Investments. You know who that is?
I do not.
Bill Gates.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Bill Gates. So, like, they talk about Bill Gates' largest farmland owner. I believe it's
Mhm.
Cascade Investments that's actually the
Mhm.
farmland owner, but they just manage all of Bill Gates' money. So it's pretty much Bill Gates. So he's running John Deere, but then also top investors, Vanguard, BlackRock. It's always the same.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, you look up Tyson Foods, their
Yep.
family, as far as shareholders, like the way Tyson Foods is structured, the ownership has way more their voting power, I guess, in the shareholder deal. But they're also large investors, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. And so it's all of these. If you wonder why this stuff is pushed in FFA, why NCBA has a climate neutrality goal, why they have the three pillars of sustainability, which we talked about is where DEI comes from. They have that on their website still. All of that stuff is still, it's just this corporate ag control. And, like this Facebook post, she goes through, if you're going to complain, criticize, or attacked, what have you done to voice your concerns when the chance was presented? That's what the buzzard
Oh,
beat
so,
said.
so you only get to present your concerns when
I
you
don't
have
know.
the
I feel like we're doing a good
a,
job. She's probably proud of
a
us.
certain opportunity. I noticed where one of those deals where David Hyde, he's the president of RCAF USA, and he is a super, super intelligent human being with a lot of common sense, a great guy. He had posted on there that he had been trying to become very involved in the beef checkoff, and she posted on below him, well, I don't know of another group that would want somebody that complains like you guys on their group anyway. And I'm like, that goes back to what we talked about last week with West Texas A&M not publishing just a simple story because the subject of the story didn't agree with their ideology, right? The First Amendment to the Constitution is not protection for those who agree with you. It's for protection for those who disagree. That's where this dissenting voice becomes so important. And so basically what she was saying is you have to agree with everything we're saying or you don't get to participate. And what is that? That is sustainable development at its very core. And of course, there's always the victimhood stuff mixed all into all that stuff. And it's just more junk to say to myself when I look in the mirror, just go quietly on, do your thing, and go quietly on, and beat the crap out of them down the road. That's what we do.
Well, I mean, she asked, "What have you done to voice your concerns when the chance was presented?" I mean, I feel like we've done quite a bit
Well,
of
we're doing a
voicing
great job.
concerns, and we don't need CattleCon. But then also right after that, she says, "If you're in Nashville, come see me at what did you call it? Cress Ceres
Series. I think it's
Ceres
series.
Ceres
Yeah.
tag booth tonight at 5:30, and
Ah.
Thursday in the Cortiva Agriscience Cortiva Press through
So
management
when you
meet
go see her, what do
at
you do?
9:15 a.m." So I wonder, I
Well, when
wonder
you
if
go see her, what do you do? I mean,
I
what,
don't know, get a
why
picture or something. I don't know.
get a picture autograph or does she
Thank her
sing? I
for
mean,
her advocacy.
oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I do.
Um, all right. That's about all I got. Potter Cattle this weekend. Go see February
Yes.
14th. Um, they are Sim Angus, purebred Angus, purebred Simmental, and Sim Angus crosses.
Hey, let's
Potter
talk
Cattle.
about my trip to
Oh,
Blackwood
yeah.
Stock Show.
How was South Dakota, Shad?
It was great. I want to, thank the South Dakota stock growers, RKF USA, for having me up there. I went and spoke to the South Dakota stock growers, and that ended up being really cool because they were taking a vote on their fake meat bill or adulterated meat bill in their legislature that day, like during the time that I was supposed to speak. So we had everybody got into this big old convention room and sat down and watched the debates in real time. It took about an hour, and they had, I mean, great testimony from legislators on both sides of the issue. And there were Democrats and Republicans for banning adulterated meat, and there were Democrats and Republicans against banning adulterated meat. And it was super cool. I mean, South Dakota is leading the way in many areas, and that was one of them. And they did, I think, I can't remember the vote, win by two to ban adulterated meats in South Dakota. But there was some fantastic testimony. And then Amanda Radke, myself, and the mods all spoke to the South Dakota stock growers. It was a great room filled with probably, I don't know, 120, 150 people maybe. And that was just super good. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is South Dakota politically, in favor of American producers, is leading the way, and I'm talking about through that policy, through eminent domain. It was just exciting to be there. So I was happy they asked me, and then I was able to go speak to
Can I
another
stop
group.
you
Yes.
on the lab meat deal?
Hmm.
I feel like we should mention who is against a lab meat ban, right? Because I had the honor of testifying in favor of the lab meat ban against South Dakota Cattlemen's and South Dakota Farm
Correct.
Bureau.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It was just very interesting. That's one of the most interesting two big takeaways from that, the testimony.
Okay.
Um, the state vet came out and called it meat, right? This whatever substance grown from animal cells in a
Right. Right.
laboratory, they are calling meat now. And I don't know if the South Dakota cattleman representative called it actually meat, but it was called meat a number of times by the people um who don't want the ban to go through. Which to me, it's not meat. Meat is grown on an animal. Meat comes from animals, not out of laboratories. But also, highlight for me was bringing up the relationship between South Dakota cattlemen and NCBA. And I think the chair came back and he was like, "So you guys are an affiliate of the NCBA that lobbies for Tyson and Cargill?" Got him. And so she kind of had to explain that, and she's like, "Well, yeah, but we're producer, she went into the
Oh
talking
yeah.
points. We're grassroots, and we focus on South Dakota. They don't control us, all that stuff." But
Yeah. Well, Dr. Stengel was there, and one of the things that he explained to us as a whole is the reason it can't be called meat is because meat has a beginning and an end point, right? It has a life cycle, a death, where this does not ever have a death, right? It is going on forever and ever. There's no life cycle to this. And so that's why really you can't call it meat in the true sense of the word meat. So, but yeah, it was fun. It was super fun. And then I got to speak at the Rogue Food Conference. Now, if you don't know what that is a regenerative agriculture conference, and that was a very great experience. There was probably the most diverse crowd, 150 people that I have ever seen. It was just there were farmers and ranchers, there was Amish, there was people that are selling farm to table, there was dreadlocks, there was pink hair. It was just everything.
diverse,
It
right?
was that diverse,
Diverse and
and
inclusionary.
well, yeah, absolutely, it was. We included them, and we didn't even
Right.
have to advertise
Yeah.
DEI. But that was a super lot of fun. And then, of course, I went down to the Wyoming, uh, Goshen County Farm Bureau. Had a big old crowd there of lots of producers, and they treated me like a king. And the presentation, the War on Beef, was well received, and I had many people come up and say, wow, we've suspected all of that all along because things didn't make sense. And I said, yes, that's the foundation. And then we had a jillion people just complimenting the Lonesome report. And Jim, I'm not kidding when I say I probably had more than 50 people come up to me and say, you guys are doing a fantastic job. We want to support you. And that was very fulfilling on my end. So that was my weekend. We have a great special report coming up this week during the middle of the week. That's exciting, and people are going to be super surprised.
Yeah. So that's kind of our base. That's our home base. Goshen County Farm Bureau is our best farm bureau county in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
I have not heard one bad thing about Wyoming Farm Bureau. I mean, I
Yeah,
just haven't.
yeah, that State Farm Bureau and Nebraska Farm Bureau. What did they come out?
Mhm.
They did something this week. Oh, they're for they want that's a whole thing we could go all in on. But there's people in Nebraska, big NCBA people that are trying to get rid of the brand committee
Yep.
and so yeah, Farm Bureau came out.
And what do you think getting rid of the brand committee is a step towards? Could it be? I wonder.
Right. The same people that are very pro
Yep.
EID mandate are also, and then it goes into all these massive feedlots, corporate control, all of that kind of same stuff. One thing I was going
Well,
to talk about that I forgot, when
mhm.
you want a seat at the table and you want your voice to be heard, like it costs thousands of dollars to do, you got to buy a plane ticket, you got to be a member, you got to drive here, there. The place to get your voice to be heard, if you takes 5 minutes and it doesn't cost anything. Pick up your phone, call your local state rep. Right? We were talking about Goshen County. That's Harriet Hageman's our favorite representative from the state. Call your senator. You want to take 10 minutes? Call your state representative and then call both your senators and tell them have your voice heard. Right? Tell them that you're against mandated EID tags. Tell them you're for a mandatory country of origin label on your beef. Tell them you want beef checkoff reform, the Off Act. Tell them you want your dollars to be removed from lobbyist hands. That's what the Off Act does
Absolutely.
for the checkoff.
One of
And
the
so,
things that I have noticed recently in my research is that these people that are kind of promoting these brand deals, South Dakota's going through it too. Is that you and I have talked about how through the beef on dairy, this was a march to vertical integration, which is really just a march to uniformity, and which has me very concerned. But that is the talk among all of these people that are promoting the recension of brand boards is that they want all states to be under one jurisdiction. And that to me is very, very, very scary.
Right.
Because then here we are. They have the total control. It doesn't become a state's issue. It becomes a federal issue. And they can, here you are with Jim Mundorf, measure, monitor, report, and verify. And we can wave a wand and count the cattle on your ranch. We've
Oh, you
we've
can see
been
it from
through that.
satellite if you go with the
Yeah, absolutely.
the tag
That's
name that I
and
can't
what
say.
and what is that called? That's called methane sat. They already have it in place, and they put it in place in 2023 to measure, monitor, report, and verify the energy industry. But it has this cousin that they can cross over and do the same thing with the beef industry. So that feels like what we're headed towards, and lots of crazy things that I never thought I'd see, but here we are.
Yeah, and it all gets pushed, go back to the corporate control of agriculture. But yeah, you
Right.
want your voice heard? Call up your stuff. Go in. Although I've talked to somebody in Harriet's office, they said you really want to be remembered and have your voice heard. Actually, go in the office, sit down, don't be a jerk about it. Go in there and sit down and tell them what you think of all this stuff. Or heck, fly to Washington D.C. and go visit them there.
That's
Probably a
right.
lot cheaper than old cattle con. They're not going to charge you $1,000 to get in there if you make an appointment.
That's right.
All right. Mundorf Heritage Beef has a ground beef sale going on. So if you want to buy some ground beef straight off the farm that I work at, go there. Potter cattle for February 14th on DV auction, bull sale, and some heifers. Go to lonesomelands.com, click on support, help keep us doing what we're doing. Also, how you like my forehead today?
It's long.
Got my hat down here, so buy you a ball cap. Anything else? All right. We will see you soon.
Next week,
Well, maybe sooner.
maybe sooner. Adios.